under 200R. I'm not with a size 12 with a 7/64 copper bead. I like to start the thread on right next to the bead and build up hopefully enough thread so that the bead doesn't go bouncing up the shank of the hook as you're tying and have to keep pushing it out of the way. Now I'm spiraling back over the thread to somewhere about over the barb.
Anybody need one of these? Made? No? Anybody need a picture George made?
I've been using tail feathers from a beat up old golden pheasant tail because the fibers tend to be a little long. But if you get lucky, you can find a regular ringneck pheasant one that's got good long fibers in it.
You can have this.
Oh, that's a ringneck, yep.
How many do I need?
Oh, about 5.
Is there some number 6 shot in it?
Yeah. Just lay it.
Yeah, number 6.
Lay it to the
7.5 maybe.
At an angle like this, and by the time you trap it, it'll roll right over on the back. And then just fold the excess back over because we're going to use that for the body. And you can just drop your bobbin, but I have to half hitch. Now we want about 6 inches of wire.
All made in China.
And again, lay the wire kind of along the side closest to you and wrap over it. And back down. And you'll start winding from the other side, this rib. But get your rib back out of the way. Now, just like you can do with peacock curl, I like to take and wrap about, I wrap backwards to most people. If you notice, I'm wrapping over the top and to my left. And the reason I like to do it that way is once you start winding like I'm doing now, it tightens up on the thread rather than having to keep twisting it. And you wrap up. The length of the fibers isn't quite so critical on smaller hooks, but on a 12 200R, it's a pretty long shank. That's a 2X shank. So, and we're not worried about saving anything in the way of fibers at the end here for a back on the fly or legs or anything like that. Actually, this is the sort of the modern beadhead version of the old pheasant tail, which was originated actually by Frank Sawyer in England, and the whole thing was tied just with copper wire instead of thread. But then I think it's Al Troth, I read, came up with more of the version that we're doing here, where it has the pheasant tail body and then a peacock thorax. But like so many people are doing these, I'm adding a flashback and
Must have been looking.
what I like to do and why I've used so much wire is to get a little more weight. I like to wrap the copper wire over the thorax part area, forward and back forward one more time. Get about 3 layers. They don't have to be pretty because they're going to be covered up. But one thing you do want to do if you do this is don't counter wrap your rib. Wrap it the same way you're wrapping the rest, because if you counter wrap your rib and then keep wrapping the same way, when you build up the copper wire, as soon as you start tying in that area, the copper wire wants to unwind because it's wrapped on the opposite direction. I know that from personal experience because I tried to counter wrap them. It didn't work worth a darn. There's this stuff I've got is called furl tinsel. This is the large. Anyway, then after you've got the copper wire down, wrap back over it, right to where the copper wire extends beyond the peacock or the pheasant tail body. Lay your flash against the side, pulls up snug. It should move right up on top, and tuck it back in a clip. But you want to take at least 3 strands because half the time you'll break at least one off. And just tie that on in front of the flashback material. Wrap back over it. And then do the same thing I did with the pheasant tail. You wrap it about 3 turns. I'm wrapping to the left over the top. And what this does is when you go winding it, it tightens up on the thread rather than loosening. Build up a little thorax there, but don't crowd the bead too much because we got to tie a hackle in there yet. Flip out the excess peacock curl. If you've got a vise that swivels, you can turn it over so you're looking right at the top of the thing. Hold the flashback down snug and tight right over the top and get 1 turn of thread in there really tight so that you've got it centered, and then take 2 or 3 or 4 more wraps. Really have it bound down good. And this is where I kind of like the half hitching, like I can use a half hitch tool and it'll fit up over the bead if you've got a big fat one. You can slip a half hitch in there. And I get something that's probably right for about a standard size 14. And flip it off, pull it forward, and rather than strip off the fibers, I like to take the scissors, clip about 1/8 of an inch little fibers off to leave a bare piece of stem, and also by clipping it off you leave stubble that helps it lock in tighter. Take about 3 good tight turns right behind the bead on that. Bobbin, yeah. This only needs about 2 turns.
In whose lifetime, how many years ago was that, you said? Disappoint all of us.
Yeah, but I had a feeling I confused your wife by not having a bobbin.
Oh, that could be.
Well, you can confuse Harold.
Actually, what you can do is if you can see it here, I'm taking, after the first half hitch, I'm taking 2 turns around the tool.
Whip
that's
finishes are like for wimps.
almost like a short whip finish. With some kind of head cement.
The brandy evaporates and sticks it down, you can drink it. It's
Dr.
stuck.
Juice in it.